Hello and welcome to the That's So Craven podcast. I'm your host Mark today. I'm being given more opportunities than Kusi Asari at striker, more chances than Adama, through on goal, and more opportunities than Marco to change his lineup. Yet here I am. But I am joined by very good company, a couple of our old favorites. The Traveler is a nickname he's been given by Dave. Dave and others are hoping that it will stick. I'm not sure where that comes from, but it's definitely a Brit joke in there somewhere. Mike, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Although I'm disappointed because Skibby promised me entrance music to go with this new Traveller nickname, and it's yet to materialise. So, yeah, if it's going to stick, I'm going to at least need to get some perks out of it. But we'll sweep over that one for the time being.
That sounds amazing. I'd love to have my own intro music. Maybe that's somewhere we can improve on the pod. Everyone gets their own theme song and
Yeah,
instantly
Elton's got to loosen
recognizable.
up the purse strings like the Khans.
100%. And we're also joined by the Queen of Motspur Park herself, the crowd favorite, Mary Southgate. Mary, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. I feel like maybe my music is currently the fact there's fireworks popping off for bonfire night outside. So I kept myself muted for the whole of Mike's entrance there because I can just hear them popping off. So, yeah, it's quite exciting when I look out the window. It's flying, which is exactly what happened at Craven Cottage the other day. So excited to talk about that and excited to look for what's to come and talk about what's to come.
100%. And I think that's a great place to start, right? I have the agenda and we're going to go through the match and we're going to go through Everton and questions and things like that. But I mean, first and foremost, I'm relieved. Maybe this is just me being a especially anxious Fulham fan, but I want to get you guys' thoughts. Mike, we'll start with you. But 4 losses in a row, Wickham wasn't super convincing, I gotta say. I kind of expected it, but we sort of muddled our way through. And now we really put Wolves to the sword. 3-0 could have been more. Tell me how you're feeling.
Yeah, I think the overriding feeling is just relief to kind of stop that terrible run of defeats. Um, I think we were given a really big boost prior to the game with the names that we saw on team sheet on the bench. That kind of just filled everyone with a bit more confidence, and when you look at that on paper, you actually do see that we've got a decent squad, we've got some depth to it, and it kind of helped to sort of soften the blow of those defeats that we'd had because we were depleted for some of those games particularly. So and then obviously the game itself played out pretty much as perfectly as anybody would have asked for. My mum actually said to me afterwards it's the only time she's ever felt completely comfortable with still half an hour of football left to play. I echo those sentiments exactly. It was just nice that you kind of knew that we'd already won as soon as that second goal went in. And I mean, you've got to feel for Wolves a little bit, even though it's got to be somebody that's down there. They are just in a terrible state. It's good that it's not us in that particular situation, although some of the hysteria prior to the game would have led you to believe that we were in as bad a run of form and bad a situation as Wolves. But yeah, nice to just get the 3 points, a clean sheet, and just a win to kind of get us back on the winning trail and not be sort of looking over our shoulder and thinking, oh my God, we're going to get dragged right into a relegation scrap.
Love that and completely agree. I myself, I think I was a bit more anxious. Like, supporting Fulham, you never really know what you're going to get. We can turn up against Arsenal, we can turn up against Liverpool. We haven't quite turned up yet against Man City, so hopefully that changes this season. But yeah, I felt it was a banana skin. Mary, were you more confident going in, or were you worried that maybe Wolves would be able to get something in extra time against us?
Yeah, a little bit worried that it was one of those games that's important, and we knew it really was one that we needed 3 points with where we were in comparison to Wolves as well in the points. But hoping it wasn't like what happened before when Wolves didn't have any wins and then came to us and beat them at the Cottage. But yeah, great win. I think it was so much more reassuring when we've seen the lineup and the team, and you can see like we've got a lot of players back because we have been hit quite hard of injuries, and exactly what Mike said, the fact that everyone was back showed that we have got quite good depth, and we've been really unfortunate with the fact we've had so many injuries at the same time, but also in and out as well. So when some people have been injured, we've never really had everyone together. And then we had that brief patch where there was so many of them out, five or so starting players out, and it's that has a huge impact. So yeah, it was one of those where it was a bit, it could have gone either way. We, like you said, Mark, we often do better against the teams where they're coming at us as well, and it's a fast game, and then sometimes that goes into our favour. And then the Wolves sort of games, we drop off a little bit, but actually, as we know, it didn't happen, and it was a great 3 points and a clean sheet.
Oh yeah, we're going to go over that in exhaustive detail because it's been a while since we've had a win. But you guys both mentioned it, so it's worth touching on again in a little bit more depth. But the lineup, I was really excited when I saw the lineup, especially a couple of names on there, but I'll start first with Anderson. I really like having an outfield captain. I know Leno is one of the sort of leadership team, but I think it's just, he's not going to run out and talk to the referee, is he? And I think Anderson really, he has the sort of like pretty privilege, which helps, even though now he's buzzed off all his hair, so maybe a bit less of the Prince Charming look. But definitely he knows the dark arts, and he advocates for the team, and he's a calm head. So I really liked having him out there. But back to you, Mary. When you looked at the lineup, were there any other names that jumped out at you, or anything else that sort of made you a bit more excited to see this match play out?
Yeah, well, firstly, the fact that we had, I think, was it 4 players back that we didn't have at Newcastle, with King, Wilson, Kevin getting his first league start. I mean, that was very exciting. Everyone was excited about that. And a really good opportunity for him to show us what he's got from the start. It's always so different coming on to a game as a sub. You're not in with the tempo of the game. You don't know the flow of the game. Even if you're watching it, it's very different coming on to a game. So to see him from the start was really exciting. And I thought he worked really well down that side of Cess. I think they both complemented each other really well with their style of football, and linked up nicely. But the other one that I wanted to touch on was Iwobi. I think it's been mentioned a lot from our team, that, as in our podcast team, that it's a really exciting position that he could go into in the midfield. And actually, he really proved that he could. He's always been creative, and he's always had skill out on the left, but actually he was more creative from deep. He helped open up a lot more in front of him in a different way that Lukic does. And I just felt that his creativity was a really welcomed change, had a real impact on how we played through the middle and how we got out from the middle, but also his movement off the ball, which, like, just pulling players out or allowing. I think the first goal, which I'll leave for us to touch on later, but the first goal, part of that was he did pull out off the ball to allow that a pass to break the line. And I think he did that movement quite a lot throughout the game. So he's definitely someone that I think it's important to highlight. He played really well in that role. And I think I've seen a message on the Discord which said who was everyone's player of the match, and I didn't answer it because I couldn't think of an actual one player of the match. I think they all played really well together. I think everyone gave a great shift, and it was a really strong lineup. So yeah, it was very reassuring to see, and they played well. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I was very happy to see Iwobi move into that 8. And like Mary said, the off-the-ball movement, Match of the Day covered this, and they showed pretty good highlights of sort of their widgets and their directional arrows about how he was dragging people out of position, but really opened up that first goal. A little, I know this isn't a Wolves podcast, but we'll talk a little bit about their lineup. Some names missing, Mike. Some really big names missing. I don't know if you caught that as well. They have a half decent squad. I know they've been stripped bare because Fosun keeps selling their best players, whether it's Neto or others. But were you surprised to see Andre and João Gomez on the bench?
Yeah, definitely. The fact that both of them were missing from the starting lineup was a really big boost for us. And they're 2 really good players who I kind of feel like if Wolves do go down, as we kind of expect them all to, I'd certainly be having a look at those 2 as well as Strand Larsen in the summer, and see if we could bolster our squad with those 3 players. But the thing that with Wolves as well is, and like, I'd like to think that I'm pretty familiar with most Premier League squads, when I looked at Wolves' team and their bench, the fact that I didn't know so many of their players sort of suggested to me that either they've got a load of hidden gems that we just don't know about yet, or they're in real dire straits because, like, a lot of their players just didn't seem like they were kind of up to the level that was required. Maybe sort of they'd had to put a few square pegs in round holes. I think there was, rumors of like the manager had fallen out with Andre, and I just don't really know what was going on with their lineup. It seemed quite a bizarre one, and it just sort of felt. It kind of felt reminiscent of some of our relegation seasons where we just had random players who don't give a shit about the club that they're playing for, and or either just aren't up to the level, and it kind of felt a little bit like that from Wolves. So as much as like it was pleasing from our side of things to kind of win and win so comfortably, I'm just going to temper it a little bit and say that Wolves were dreadful. Like, I think they're the worst team I've seen at the Cottage in years, and I'm including the Forest and West Ham sides that we beat 5-0 in back-to-back games a couple of years ago in that run, because Wolves really weren't any sort of danger. I thought, if anything, if they were going to score, it was because we were going to do something daft when we got a bit jittery. But yeah, it's, somebody's got to go down, but you just kind of feel like Wolves are already in that situation where like they seem to be doing what the promoted clubs from the last 2 seasons have done, where they're not even going to put up a fight.
Fair enough. I mean, I think they got rid of Vitor Pereira quick enough that they have time to turn it around, and I don't think that entire squad is complete rubbish, but they are in a dire predicament at the moment, and yeah, there's definitely some names I'd be looking at.
The thing for them that looks worrying, and I don't want to harp on too much about Wolves, is the managerial names that have been kind of linked with that job. None of them really sort of suggest that they're like going to be the kind of guys that keep you in the Premier League or are looking for that. They almost seem like, I think Carrick's one of them and Rob Edwards is another. They're guys that have been in and around the Championship. That feels like a big job for somebody to come into as their first Premier League job. It almost feels like they're preparing for life in the Championship next season, but I don't know. Let's move on to Fulham because we're fed up of talking about other clubs.
Fair enough. And straight on to Fulham. Well, it had to be him, right? One of our own. Cess in the 9th minute. A beautiful... It almost makes it. That's good vision from Bassi. An interception, I'd say maybe a tad bit fortunate for us. An interception that doesn't fully get blocked off. Goes straight into Raul. This is the kind of football I love. Instinctive football, right? We had a strategy. We almost executed it. But who reacts first, Who has their know-how and their reactions to make that happen? And Raul lays it off into Cess, running into acres of space. How do you feel about Mary? Were you pretty certain he was going to hit the back of the net? He's definitely one of our better players for that.
Yeah, 100%. What a positioning as well. Having Cess that high up, and I think, yeah, 100% felt really confident when he got into that position. I mean, the goalie probably could have done better. Having watched it back, he probably should have got a hand to it a bit better. But yeah, when Cess was in that position, I don't want to take it away from him. It's one of those positions where it's sort of one of Cess's best positions for shooting. The angle he was at, and you sort of look at it thinking, yeah, that's perfect. That's on a plate for Cess. And yeah, it was a great strike. He obviously got great power behind it and reacted very quickly to a well-weighted pass from Jimenez. But just on Cess as well, I think what I've noticed over the last few weeks, obviously we missed Robinson with how Robinson plays, but Cess has absolutely stepped up to the plate. And I feel that Cess gets in greater goal-scoring positions. You don't really see Robbo getting onto the goal-scoring. You just don't see him getting onto the chart for that. But he gets a lot of crosses in, and Robbo's got amazing attributes. We all know that. But it's just, I think it's interesting to see that Cess is getting into different positions, and to be the highest one in that moment to go on and score is really exciting. It's just another layer of something different that Cess is bringing. But yeah, brilliant goal, well worked, great from Jimenez, and a great ball breaking the line from Bassi as well.
100%. I mean, like, I would say last season, Cess maybe was a bit more timid. I don't know if he had as much muscle as well. And there was a chasm, at least defensively, between Robinson and Cess. And now I wouldn't call them like for like. I think they're different tools that can be used at different times. But I really like that so many elements of our team can move around. You know, like Cess could play a little bit higher up. Iwobi can move centrally. I think that's really exciting, and I hope Marco explores that more. I would say the next big moment in the first half has got to be the red card that Josh King pulls from their, I believe it's their number 5. I'm going to mess up the name, so I'm not even going to try it. But there was a tiny bit of controversy. I have my own tinfoil hat opinion on it, but I'm going to go to Mike on this. The ball, a lovely ball from Kenny Tete, lofted all the way over, kind of finds King, takes a bit of a big bounce. Arguably, I don't think so, but hits the sleeve. Is that a handball or not for you, Mike?
I mean, I didn't think so at the time, and then having seen angles of it on replays, none of them definitively say to me handball. Like, I don't think it was, you know, to use the VAR parlance, clear and obvious. It's one of those ones that I think if the ref kind of gives it in real time as a handball, then you probably think, okay, fine, it's not great, but you know, we'll live with it. But I think VAR to overturn that would have been probably just another one that we'd have added to the list of grievances that we've had against VAR this season. So maybe there might have been a pinch of that in their subconscious that we're thinking we can't take another thing away from Josh King. But no, I think King does really well in terms of, you know, getting onto it and kind of draws the foul from the defender as well. I think it's Agbadou who kind of just thinks that he can nick it, and King does really well to just sort of get there first. He's clearly through on goal and getting his shot off with his next touch, so it is a red card in that sense. I think it's the correct decision. I don't think you can be pulling that back for anything that kind of doesn't have sort of definitive evidence to suggest that it was as a handball.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think I could see it given, but the number of decisions that have gone against King, I think the media would have had a field day with that. They would have made him the most persecuted Premier League player if he had another VAR decision go against him. So I'm glad that didn't go against him. But at the same time, this one the ref gets it spot on. I don't think VAR is even questioning that, right? They're going to the sleeve incident earlier. But he flicks the ball past the central defender. Defender comes in late, clatters him. For me, it's a pretty clear red. So that, I'd say, I don't know about you guys, you can agree or disagree, but that felt like the nail in the coffin for me. We have been known to trip up right at the end when we're 1-0 up against 10 men. But I think that's devastating for Wolves. And now they have to rejig everything, especially in the first half. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, it was. I was just thinking. So I felt actually after that was probably our worst period in the game because sometimes when a team is down to 10 men, there's maybe a subconscious thing where the team with 11 think, oh, they've only got 10. I don't quite have to do as much. And there seemed to be a bit of a drop off. Maybe with some of the defensive diligence. I think there was a point when I noticed both Kevin and Wilson sort of failed to track their players, and Wolves nearly scored just before half-time with that one that fizzed across the box, and you felt that if Strand Larsen had, slightly bigger feet or slightly bigger boots on his feet, then he might have stuck that in, and we'd be thinking, you know, what a terrible situation we find ourselves in. We should, you know, we've got all the advantages and we're still only level. So I felt that we were just a bit jittery when that red card occurred because we weren't quite at the races, and it sort of took us into half time and to maybe not quite as in control as we would have liked to have been.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm glad that we do go in to halftime at 1-0 with them having a red card. Over to you, Mary, again. You're Marco Silva. You're 1-0 up at home. You really need Fulham to win. They've just had a red card. What are you saying to the team?
Yeah, well, I also was relieved to get to halftime, just to say. I do agree. It was a bit of a, gosh, like we actually need to get to halftime so we can regroup. And for Marco Silva to tell the boys how to play against 10 men, because like Mike said, it is different. And it isn't always as simple as you've got an extra player, because I think the key that Marco would have said is they're obviously going to change their defensive setup. They can't start leaking goals in because they need to try and snatch a point. so one of the biggest things I think is that we needed to be patient in the second half. We needed to work the ball around, use the width, draw them out, which we started to do really well, and just sort of pull them apart a little bit, but be patient, not get excited that we've got an extra player. And I think Wolves' plan would have been try and lure us in a little bit and then break and counter us to try and get that equaliser and then park the bus. So I imagine Marco would have said something along those lines. Um, but we needed the second goal because if they hadn't got back in, it would have been really tough to pull them apart. So yeah, and I think, do you know what? I think we did it well. We did keep the ball a lot better than we did in that last bit of the first half, and we did use the width and we did start to play a nice fast football, but keeping possession, and it paid off because we tied them out a bit. We got them frustrated, and we went on and got some more goals. So yeah. But I think the strategy had to change playing against 10, which is why it was handy we had half time.
100%. And that second goal, I think, was huge for us. I'm always a bit nervous until we have a 2-goal buffer. I guess that's just who I am. But very encouraging. I gotta give credit to the ref as well. I think they really, I don't. Howard Webb must have had a word with his team because our first couple of games are really terrible. But this ref, I don't feel like he got anything major wrong. Why I'm bringing this up is at the start of play for our second goal, Calvin Bassey goes down, clutching his head, so possible head injury. But we have an advantage. He plays on, and had he blown the whistle there, we might have not have gotten that second goal. I think it's Raul picks it up. It somehow ends up with Berger. I'm so glad that he's taking shots now. I like to see this from Lukic and Berger. I like to see a change in strategy, and it's going to pay off one day. I'm certain of it. There's going to be like a real thunderbolt from outside the box or a lucky deflection. I really like that we're doing that. It gets bounced back. Wilson calls for it. Tell me your feelings then, Mike. When Wilson was running up, were you feeling pretty confident given his wand of a left foot, or what were you thinking?
Yeah, so like, I mean, before we got to that goal, I think we were sort of starting to make some more real inroads. I think Tete had a couple of shots. One of them was a really good effort that tested the goalkeeper. The other one less so, but full marks for trying at least. But I think Mary touched on it before. The key was that we were playing faster football and at a higher tempo, and that's not just in this game that it's key against 10 men. We are sometimes too slow and a bit too passive. So it's nice that we kind of up the tempo and we're putting things together and taking a bit more risk. So as you say, Berger having that shot, it wasn't so much that, oh, he might score from here. It's the fact that stuff can happen when you do things that are a bit more dynamic, and the deflection falls nicely into the path of somebody like Wilson, who, out of all of the players in our side, somebody shooting from 20 odd yards, you'd probably pick Wilson as one of your top players to, certainly on that left foot. And it's a brilliant finish. I think when you see it again from the behind the goal angle or behind the opposite goal angle, and you kind of see that, there's not actually much of a gap there to hit. And he just strokes it perfectly into the bottom corner. So really nice finish. Pleased for Wilson as well. I think it's, he's somebody who, apart from when we play Brentford, probably doesn't get enough goals for us. So it's good to see that he's, taking on that mantle and trying to, get a bit of confidence and hopefully he can chip in with a fair few to try and catch our top scorer, who will probably come on to next.
Yes, 100%. And you're right, Wilson is the man for it. A bit of a headache for Marco. I really want to see Chukwueze, and we'll touch on him in a bit. But Wilson isn't making it easy. He isn't going down without a fight. And, I mean, if he's banging in goals, it's pretty hard to argue with that. The third goal, love it. Brilliant movement with Iwobi and Cess. ESR, a name that he is divisive. I really backed him to the hilt last season. He started this season a little bit better, but I don't know. I think Skibby's like pro Andreas propaganda has really started to like rub on me. It's just like enough repetition. I'm like, you're right. ESR is a waste of time and space. But he does know how to crush the box, and given time and given confidence, he is he's a very tidy player. So I do like that about ESR. I just want to see more, especially given how much we paid for him. But he has a part to play in the third goal. Mary, when you saw that come in, were you thinking ESR was going to be on the end of it, or what were your thoughts? Were you excited about what we were creating, or own goal popped up again. He's top scorer.
Classic.
But yeah, a great moment and one that really, it made me feel at ease. Like 2-goal buffer
Yeah.
is good, 3 is even better.
3 was exactly what Mike said at the start. Like, we actually thought, wow, we've got a good 20 minutes left, 15 minutes left, and we feel relaxed. We're not like hoofing that ball over the Riverside stand. But yeah, ESR actually was involved in so much of this third goal, because I think he did a really poor pass on the edge of our defensive box initially, which Tom Kearney had to do like a bit of a stretch slide tackle to win it back. But then we broke so quickly, and that's what was really good. We're 2-0 up, but we're still looking to be really clinical and get some more goals and get more confidence. And ESR then, like you mentioned, was involved in that, because he did a great ball out very quickly to Iwobi. I think it was ESR that played it. And then, yeah, he got himself into the box. I'm actually glad he didn't get on the end of the ball, because I think it would have gone wide. So it was better that we had own goal score in it. And yeah, what another moment just to crush them a little bit more. But it was well worked, and it was fast, and Iwobi was direct. There was no buffing about. It was just, actually, we've won the ball on our edge. Let's counter quickly, and let's just be really direct. So yeah, it paid off. And like Mike was saying earlier, the pressure of constantly shooting, the pressure of constantly being around their box, it adds another sort of layer of, we're on top of this, we're in control of this game. You need to be fearful of what we're going to do, because we're doing lots of different things. So yeah, I know it was an own goal, but well worked. It was fast, it was clinical, and yeah, I think it's actually good we didn't get on the end of it, because it may have gone wide.
Yeah, 100%. But you're right. Well worked, and I love causing chaos in the box. This is how you beat these teams, right? Same with the second goal. When teams, Premier League teams, most of them have a time to set up, it's going to be really difficult to break that down. But when there's too much movement, too much noise, you have to make snap decisions. Sooner or later, one of the defenders is going to be in the wrong place or make the wrong decision, and we capitalize on that. Absolutely love to see it. One name I know we spent a lot of time on this Wolves games, and we will get to Everton, I promise. But one name we have to talk about. We just have to talk about him, because he's so bloody exciting. Mike, talk to me about Samuel Chukwueze and what he did, because it shouldn't have been 3, it should have been 4, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, Chukwueze's cameo was kind of what we've been waiting for him, because he's been a very stop-start to his career at Fulham, and we've kind of yet to see what he can really bring until Saturday, where we saw a really exciting cameo. Okay, he missed an absolute sitter, but the fact that he's getting in there to kind of get those chances, and you know, you kind of feel like goals will come from him. That little run afterwards, where he sort of, I think a football commentator would probably call it a slalom, for those that like random phrases to describe things on a football pitch. But yeah, it was a nice sort of little jink inside outside, and then lets that shot fly, and it was very similar to Wilson's goal, but unfortunately this one just sort of crept the wrong side of the post. But yeah, really exciting to see the player that we've got on our hands, and hopefully we can see more of him. But as you said, Wilson, maybe feeling a bit of that pressure of competition, is hopefully going to step up as well, and it leads to good competition for places. Just going back on the third goal, sorry, Mark, I would say I'd apologise for labouring the point, but the fact that we've won for the first time in quite a while means let's just milk this a bit. One, where was that Tom Kearney tackle on Justin Kluivert a few weeks ago, when we could have really done with it? I mean, who knew that Kearney had that in his locker? He's got many things going for him, but a big crunching slide tackle on the edge of the box is not one of them. So that was brilliant to see. Mary touched on Smith Rowe's cameo. That's nice to see. That's what we want to see from this guy. I mean, Mark, you and I and Skibby talked about this on Saturday after the game, in that you kind of feel like you really want to just shake him into life and just say, look, stop letting your career drift and really take the game by the scruff of the neck, because you have got the ability. Yeah, okay, he's come on in a situation which is pretty much perfect for an attacking midfielder, where your team's 2-0 up, you're playing against 10 men and the football's free-flowing. But that was just a little glimpse of what he can do when we move the ball quickly and he's at the centre of it. He can be a really effective player. And then also as well, yeah, as you say, own goal scoring. Hopefully we can somehow manipulate some big Saudi club to pay 50 million to us for an own goal, because they seem to, like our players when they're doing well. So, yeah, we'll see if we can, manipulate that situation, but I'm not hopeful.
Yeah, it might be a bit tricky when they don't have a profile picture or a position. So, but we'll see what we can do to pull one over on them. All right, guys, we're finally done with Wolves. I know it's taken a while, but moving on, we are looking to move on. There we go. Technical difficulties. We're playing Everton.
Still at St James's Park
It's
again. I
pretty
see.
cool. Everyone is using St James's. That's why Newcastle can buy all these players, because everyone rents their stadium out. So that's pretty good. They do have a different name now. They've moved to a new stadium. I believe it's the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Is that right? Looks
Correct.
quite nice. I wouldn't mind going there. I want to talk about their summer transfers, because we were linked with at least one player that we both wanted. They got him, Dewsbury Hall from Chelsea. I don't know how well he's done, so I should probably be better informed. But I just looked them up right now. 9 transfers in the summer. I'm going to leave this to anyone who wants to jump in and talk about who they brought on. Grealish is another big name. But it feels like they were quite ambitious, and they really went for some big names. One more name I'll throw out before I pass over to you guys. One of my countrymen, Takefusa Kubo at Real Sociedad. Really exciting Japanese winger. Very, very tricky. Now, I'm happy we got Kevin, so we're fine. I believe he might be a right winger, so it wouldn't have even been the same spot. But I think this is a real statement of ambition from Everton. But have you guys sort of been tracking them a little bit and seeing how they're playing and who we should be looking out for?
Yeah, so I watched their game on Monday night against Sunderland, and the first half had me worried because they played particularly well. Went 1-0 up early. Iliman Ndiaye scored a brilliant goal. He's such a good ball carrier. He's going to be a real threat on Saturday. And they probably should have been 2-0 up at halftime. Tieno Barry was another new signing for them, who hasn't quite hit the ground running for them yet, and he missed a really good chance. But you kind of feel like whenever there is a team that you need to kind of break a duck against or a jinx against, Fulham at home is your perfect opposition, because we will be ever accommodating and let someone like Tieno Barry score his first goal. So that's the pessimist Fulham fan in me speaking. But going back to Everton, I think, yeah, Dewsbury Hall was the one that we were heavily linked with in the summer. He ended up going to Everton for one reason or another. We didn't really follow it through. I think he's had a pretty decent start. He's playing slightly higher up the pitch than we would have probably utilised him, but he's a good technical footballer, and surprisingly actually managed to beat Sasa Lukic to 5 yellow cards this season. So he's already had a suspension, but is back playing again. So yeah, maybe that's why we didn't go for him, because we can't afford having too many players missing games through suspension. But yeah, he's been decent. I think he's just like really good at kind of keeping the rhythm of of moves going, and of course they brought Jack Grealish in as well, who looks a bit more like the old Jack Grealish now, the one that got people excited, where he actually takes on his fullback, not the really stifled one at Man City who just shuffles forward slowly before stopping and then passing it back to the left back. So him against Tete will be a really key battle, I think, and if Tete can come out on top in that situation, and hopefully Cesc can come out on top on the other side against Ndiaye, that will give us a real sort of good chance of getting a result, because watching Everton in the second half, when Sunderland got on top of them and really kind of pinned them back, they really struggled to get out, Everton, and it kind of gave me encouragement that if we can get on the ball and dominate it and really pin them back, then we've got every opportunity of getting something, a positive result from not from St James's Park, from the Hill Dickinson Stadium on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely right, Mike. And I mean, I've always thought Everton are defensively relatively sound. I mean, Pickford's been there for absolutely donkey's years, and they seem to have a pretty robust, I'd say, good centre back pairing. There's big guys there, Keane and I don't know the other fella. I think
Tarkowski.
Tarkowski. Right. I thought, yeah, fair enough. I thought there was an Irish fellow in there as well, but yeah, clearly.
Yeah, O'Brien plays at right back at the moment.
Right back. There you go. So some big guys. Moyes is pretty seasoned manager. How do you think we're going to fare, Mary? Are you pretty optimistic? And would you go with a more attacking squad, or would you go with a more defensively minded squad in terms of the overall setup? I guess mostly the midfield we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be quite happy if we played very similar team, if not the same as what we played against Wolves, actually. I think there were so many benefits of it. But I think it's a very like-for-like game in terms of where we're at this moment in the season. I think they're one place above us, 1 point above us, I think. We've pretty much scored and conceded the same amount of goals. So it's a very even. I think we've scored 12, they've scored 10. So it's a very even game in that sense. But it's exactly what you've both said, is we've just got to try and dominate very quickly on, and Tete's won against Grealish. Grealish has had 4 assists, I think, this season. So he's key, and he is playing with confidence, and he's growing absolutely at Everton. So I think if we can squash him and we can put our presence and take our presence to them a little bit more, then that's going to be key. But I expect it to be a bit of I expect goals from both sides, but it's going to be a tough game. They've only lost 1 game at home, which was to Spurs, 3-0, I think. So quite a heavy loss. But I think that's the only game they've lost at home. So it is a hard place to go. And like you've said, they are defensively very solid. They've sort of always been known to have a good defensive block as well. But saying that, we can score against them. And that's why I think perhaps we should go with the same team we had against Wolves, because we've got the creativity from Iwobi. You've got Kevin and Cess who could go at them down the sides. You've got Wilson, who's playing really well. And I know there was a lot of talk about whether we should be having Wilson this season or not. But actually, I think he's a key player in our team, and he works really hard. So, yeah, I expect it to be quite a close game, but one that we can snatch if we dominate it and we play quickly.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. We have a comment from Steve Reynolds. Safe Silva will revert to Lukic and Berg in a safe setup. I could see that happening as well, away from home. I think the point you raised about Sunderland being on top of them, Mike, is really relevant. Perhaps this is a side we don't want the home crowd to get loud, and a good defense can be, well, an even better offense, right? If they're too worried defending themselves, they won't really have the time and space to breathe. So maybe that's one strategy we can employ. I think we're pretty evenly matched as well. This Everton team's a little bit funny because I do remember that absolutely god-awful season under Scott Parker where we had a Europa League team, or a team of Europa League players or higher, somehow only managed to get 5 wins. 2 of them were against Everton, which I completely don't understand, but there you go. But guys, I'm going to push you for a score prediction. I'll start. I think we're going to score, but I think we're going to let one in. I'm sorry that I'm going to be anxious and conservative because before I was predicting wins and we just kept getting slapped, so I started looking really silly. But I'm going to go with 1-1. I'd like it to be Kevin, just something to celebrate, even though it's a draw. And I think a draw at Everton, I know I'm the one that's saying we need to be more ambitious, we need to be more positive, but a draw away at Everton, it's not the end of the world. Always a win if we can go for it, but 1-1 draw for me. Mike, what do you think?
See, I was going to say something similar, but I'm going to try and be a little bit more optimistic than you, Mark, because we can't have too many glasses half empty. So I'm going to say that we're going to get a 2-1 win, and I think that even though we will probably start with that safe lineup of Lukic and Berger and moving maybe Iwobi back out wide, we're going to bring Kevin and Chukwueze on late in the game, and they're going to be the decisive elements for us. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win.
Like it, Mary?
Yeah, I was also torn between the two, 1-1 and a 2-1 win, but I'm going to go 2-1 win. And I do also agree. I think we will go Berger and Lukic, but I would love to see us play like we did with the Wolves setup, but I don't think we'll do that away from home. But perhaps we could revert to it during the game, depends how it goes. But yeah, I'm going to go 2-1. Goals from Iwobi and Jimenez, who I know is perhaps not someone people think is going to always score for us, but I still think he's a great player. And I think there's a lot he does away from scoring goals that is really effective for us. So I really hope he gets a goal.
Yeah, he's a workhorse, isn't he? He's one of those players like Harrison Reed for me where I don't really fault the effort. You can get a bit frustrated, especially his first season when he was doing all these fancy flicks and heel kicks and it just wasn't quite coming off, and it's like let's let's master the basics and then we can do the cool stuff. But he does work hard, and I really appreciate that about him. So yeah, all right, positive from the squad, other than me. So that's very encouraging. We're gonna move on to a couple of questions now. We have some fun ones. The first one from our Discord, which I'd really recommend you guys join. This is the public announcement bit. I'll get over it in the next 5 seconds. Join our Discord. It's a group chat. Meet like-minded Fulham fans. Lots of banter, lots of gifs. It's pretty funny. So please join if you can. But one from Spanish FFC Ultras, he says, with AFCON coming around and the loss of 3 players, is this the time to play Cess on the left, Lukic and Berger, and play both Josh and ESR together? Mike, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how that would work. So is that... if we're playing Josh King and Smith Rowe together with Berger and Lukic, and then Cess on the left, does that not? I'm trying to.
Oh yeah, that's
maths isn't my strong point, but I'm trying to work out where everyone fits in. I sort of get what so there's kind of 3 parts essentially to the question. So, do we move Sessegnon higher up the pitch and to play on the left wing like he used to back in the day for us? He can do that job. He can do that job on either side. That's very much contingent on Robinson's fitness and his availability. I have to say I've got my concerns about Robinson. I really hope that he's back sooner rather than later, but it kind of feels like that operation in the summer didn't quite go as planned, and I hope he doesn't have to have another one, because that would be a real disaster for us, and hopefully it's just a case of slowly managing him back into the into the squad and eventually into the team. But if that is an option, then yeah, sure, Sessegnon can play higher up the pitch and can be a real threat for us. But he's doing well at left back. He's showing, as Mary said, with those kind of inverted runs that he makes, that actually see him popping up in the box. He's a real goal threat for us. So long may that continue wherever he's playing. Berger and Lukic in the middle, that will always be an option for us, and there will be certain games where we will play that. Probably the majority of games. Like I feel like that will probably be what we start with on Saturday, and Iwobi will revert back to his position on the left. Partly because of you just need to be solid in away games. You can't you can't win them early on, but you can certainly lose them if you get overwhelmed and overrun. Both of those guys are decent at keeping the ball. They're not necessarily the most creative, but they're good in possession. Iwobi sort of offers that better protection defensively than, say, somebody like Kevin would. We know that Kevin loves to tackle, but I think Iwobi's just a bit more kind of switched on in terms of tracking, and with somebody like Ndiaye on the wing for them, that's something that will be key early on. So, Lukic and Berger, I think, will certainly find themselves. The one that I'm not sure about is King and Smith Rowe in the same team. Smith Rowe can possibly do a job off the left if we need him to. I kind of feel like when Iwobi and Chukwueze are at AFCON, then that might be the time to give Kevin the opportunity to play and get a run of games under his belt. I know we've got some challenging fixtures in that time, but maybe that's the chance to kind of see if he can really, cut the mustard on a consistent basis. We'd expect that Cuenca will come in for Bassi as well, and Cuenca's acquitted himself, very well when he's played. So I don't think we've got too many concerns there. So yeah, there's options in our squad. We've got some good depth, but yeah, the King and Smith Rowe one, I'm not sure. It kind of feels like it's one or the other at the moment, and I don't have a problem with that. I think while they offer different things, it's competition for places, and there'll be plenty of games over that period as well. I think the FA Cup starts around then, so they'll get enough game time between them to kind of keep everybody happy.
Yeah, great points, Mike. And just, I don't know, to add on that a little bit before I pass off to Mary, perhaps King, it's been floated. I think he's still a little light, but maybe he drops to the 8, right? That's why he has a number 24 in his back, because he said, the story behind that is he played 10, 8, and 6 anywhere in the midfield. Now, he isn't the biggest boy. We know that. He'll need some protection from the ref. But that's an option. I don't know if it sounds absolutely crazy and out there. But what do you think, Mary? Because I in a perfect world where they play together and they know each other really well, I think they're two very, very technical, intelligent footballers. It's quite exciting, but let me know if you think this is a pipe dream or any other way that we can make that combination work, or even if it would work.
I do agree. They're both got great. They're both great on the ball, and ESR just needs to play with more confidence. He's totally got the ability, but I just think he's lacking the belief or that extra oomph. And I still want to back him when he's on, but I don't think him and King would work having them both in. I think it's a little bit too lightweight in the midfield, which is such a crucial area, such a core part, which needs to be so strong. And King is definitely developing it. He is. I suppose it was like when we first had Cess going into the first team, and Cess then compared to Cess now is very different. And Josh King will grow, hopefully. I expect him to, but I don't think him and ESR would probably not complement each other properly in the midfield. But just touching on the Cuenca as well, I expect Cuenca to come in, and I really like that for him. I thought he played so well the other week, and I know he lost, but he played so well, and he was so solid. He was relaxed on the ball. He was finding really good passes, and I felt really reassured watching him, which was nice. I think it was one of his better games as well. He was a lot more solid, especially having not played for a while or not had consistent first team minutes for a while. So I think it will be a really good opportunity for him to come in, and I like that because I did feel quite comfortable with him the other day when he was playing.
Yeah, agreed. Fair enough. I really rate Cuenca as well. Justice for Cuenca, as Boston Mike says for us, because he only comes in for the tough games. It's like, hey Jorge, like, we have Man City. Do you feel like jumping in? Or we have Liverpool. You're up. Like, can we give him like Burnley or something like that so he gets, he doesn't have to like hit the ground running every time?
You say that though, Mark. I think those are probably the games that are a bit more suited to him and his skill set, because actually they're sort of more intricate teams that kind of don't play with a big lump up front that is going to dominate him. He actually acquits himself better, whereas Bassey's more suited to those kind of physical challenges, and maybe that's why he gets the nod against the majority of the sides that we play against, because they do tend to have that physical presence up front, whereas the top sides are a bit more. Some of them don't even play with a striker at all, so it's a bit more suited to what Cuenca can do. Because if anything, I think the game that I saw him struggling the most was when we played Wigan away in the cup last year, and they were just kind of launching balls in directly and he was really sort of like, oh my god, I have to head this thing. I didn't know I had to do that. So there's definitely games that we'll see players doing better. And I think the Smith Rowe and King thing as well, just thinking about it, if we're going to see it with King in the deeper role, it will probably be if we get like a home draw against a lower league side in the FA Cup where we're just going to dominate the ball and maybe need somebody to unlock a deep defence like we saw against Cambridge, for example. Other than that, in the Premier League, I can't really see it yet. I think King probably needs to get a bit more experience under his belt before he can drop a bit deeper and start dictating games from there.
Yeah, very fair points. Very fair points indeed. I have a few questions that I've come up with myself, because why not? I'm the host. I can do this. I've gone mad with power. But yeah, so I have one serious question and I have one not so serious question. Let's start with Mary. And I'll get Mary's answer first. But I'm gonna what's the question, right? Get to the point. So we have a couple of players going out of contract at the end of the season, right? To name them: TC, Adama, Cess, Wilson, Raul. Mary first and then Mike. But Mary, who would you extend? Because we love an extension. We love a 1-year bumper contract. That's why we had William III, because we just unimaginative. And I'm not saying we need to keep doing 1-year contracts, but of the names I mentioned, TC, Adama, Raul, Cess, and Wilson, which name would you pick and how long would you extend them for?
If I'm picking one, Cess. I think he's just growing, and he's got so much more to give. And I think actually, let's keep him whilst he's still progressing and having a real impact in the game. And he can play. He's very versatile. We've seen this. I didn't realise he was actually as versatile as he is. He's now playing great at left back, but he can push up if we need him to. And he loves it. When he scored, he was like loving the badge. He was the passion is there, and that says that's a whole nother layer and level of a player as well. So yeah, for me, I'd extend Cess. He's scoring goals for us. He's passionate. He's working hard. And he's keen to keep learning. I think he's someone that's probably working quite well with Marco Silva as well and keen to develop. So, but there's a few other names in there I'd keep as well. Wilson, I still think is having a good impact when he's really on his game and he's firing those goals. That one on the weekend was a beauty of a goal. It hit it so well. But again, you just knew when he contacted that ball that was going in. That was going in the goal. So yeah, Wilson as well. I think is a great player. But I know TC is nearing the end perhaps of his Premier League career, but he's still someone that sometimes I look at a game and I'm right, we need TC on the pitch right now. We need him in the middle to just control the game and just control the tempo. Just seeing Steve's comment. Just control the game, and there is moments I do genuinely think TC needs to be on right now. And that will change the game and open things up. And I don't think he has lost that yet, and I don't think he will lose it. And I know there's a lot of probably mixed opinions on how long we keep him for, but I still see a lot of value in him. But I completely understand, actually, we do need to bring in that central midfielder that is going to add that next level for us. We do need that. We all know we need that. Who that is, I don't know. But we do need that creative attacking midfielder that's got a bit more presence for us.
Yeah, 100%.
Your thoughts?
And Steve has put in, Mark, you missed out Silva. Well, I know that if Castagna and Tete maybe get injured at right back, we could have a player-manager kind of situation come in. So that could be fun. But yeah, that's, you know what? We're going to be talking about this in the international break. The group is, I wouldn't say we're fully divided, but there's a variety of opinions going around. Some pro Silva, some slightly less so. But, you know, that's another pod. We'll get into that. Whole new panel, multiple opinions, a lot of boos. It's going to be a wild one. Mike, over to you. We've thrown out some names already, but who would you pick as well of those five?
I mean, I'd have to agree with Mary. I think Sessegnon's the obvious one to sign him up on a long-term contract, really. I mean, he's only, 25 still? So I think it's like, he'd like to think he's still got his best years ahead of him. So, he belongs at Fulham. Let's tie him down to a nice long contract and reward him for the progress that he's shown over the last couple of years. He had a really tough time of it at Spurs, and we don't want him feeling unloved again and having to go somewhere else and restart. It's Craven Cottage is where he should be playing his football, in a Fulham shirt. So let's keep him there. Other than that, I don't really disagree with anything that Mary said, to be honest. I quite like all of those. I think we'd probably all be unanimous in saying that Adama can leave, and probably if we could, get somebody to pay some money for him in January, even better. But, fine, whatever. The only one that I've got a bit of a conundrum about is Raul, because I think his age plus his high wages would suggest that maybe it's time to move on and get somebody younger in, who can be a sort of look to compete with Maniz for a starting spot, for years to come. But then I still think that Raul's got genuine quality about him. He's, even though he's not the most prolific, as you said, his work rate's fantastic, his link play is excellent, and that kind of quality isn't easy to come by. If we're going to replace him, it's going to cost us best part of 50 million to get somebody anywhere close to that level. So I'm going to sit on the fence with that one. I really don't know. I think it might depend on who the manager is, to be honest. I think if Silva wants him to stay, he probably will get his way, providing Silva is staying and signs a new contract. If he's not, then the club will probably think, it's time to cut ties. Thanks for your service. And he can head off to the World Cup in his home country and then probably, get a nice MLS contract to run his career down. But yeah, the rest I'd agree with what Mary said.
Yeah, very fair points there. I mean, I like Raul as well. I could see if Marco stays, maybe we give him a 1-year bumper. And he does offer a lot. But at the same time, I have this complaint. We do love kicking the can down the road. Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet, Go for Ricardo Pepi, go for someone else. It would be amazing if we got like a really young, talented, like 18-year-old who like a really big club liked them, but they couldn't make it in that big club, so then we brought them in on loan, and then we had an option. That would be really cool, but that would be planning for the future, so that's a bit tricky for us. So yeah, that was a pretty blatant dig for those of you who know how I feel about Kusi Asari. Give the man a chance. Give the man a chance. The second question, just a bit more of a light-hearted one, because I thought it'd be quite funny. You are stranded, and this is to the chat as well, to anyone who's listening. You are stranded on a deserted island with 2 Fulham players for an indeterminate amount of time. You get to pick which 2. Who are they? Now, bear in mind, you don't know how long you're there, so you need to get along with them. I think we have a pretty nice bunch, but, you know, you need to vibe with them. You need to look at their skill suits, you know, like, are they strong, so can they help you gather firewood or whatever? Are they funny? Are they clever? Like, so I want to know which 2 Fulham players you would pick to be stranded on a deserted island with. Mary, we'll start with you.
Okay, all things considered, I'm going Calvin Bassey and Iwobi because I'm here for a good time and a party. And I think they are bringing the tunes. I think they're just bringing a party vibe. And I'm here for that. And if we bring a football, they'll be keen to play a bit of Wembley, headers and volleys, little bit of five-a-side between 3 of us. But yeah, I just think they're here for the party time as well. And they have good vibes and a good laugh. And I'm ready for that. I think we need that. So yeah, it might get a bit much at times, but maybe I'll just walk away for a little bit and then come back and join in with the band. So yeah, they're the guys.
Fair enough. See, that's what worries me. I think it'd be like a bit too much. Like, you're trying to get some sleep, or you're like trying to build an SOS fire, and they're just like chilling and like, I don't know, hanging out, like pranking you, and you're like, guys, I want to get off this island, and they're still just having a good time.
Yeah, that is
Mike,
true.
what about you?
Right, I'm probably going to reveal my slightly less carefree attitude than Mary here and be like, first pick is Issa Diop for protection, because who knows where you're going to get stranded. But the way that guy stuck up for Josh King last week at Wickham shows me that, you know, he'll step in if there's any any shenanigans afoot on this island. You know, if there's bears or any other kind of, you know, monsters lurking around, then Issa Diop can protect me. And the other one I'm going for is Rodrigo Muniz, because I think he'll be a good laugh and he can also teach me how to fish.
Smart. I like that's very practical. Yeah, Diop will protect you from any sort of bears or wild animals. The man is just huge. So that's quite clever. God, what would I go for? The first one was pretty easy. Kenny Tete. Why? He's just like an unflappable, chilled out Dutch guy. Right? So like if you want to talk, he'll talk, and if you just want silence, I think he'd be fine as well. You just both stare out into the sunset and just like, yeah, no drama. No drama of Kenny Tete. So that's my pick. Blast. I was gonna say the second one, bit left field. Reedy. Why? Because that dude is a little engine. If I'm like, I need you to flap the fire so we make smoke, so we get rest, he's gonna do that for like 3 days straight. So like he's got a little battery on him. So like, yeah, Reedy. Reedy's just a workhorse. So yeah, there you go. We got Steve saying Mitro and Townsend. Imagine the arguments. Fair enough. I mean, pretty high on the decibel level, perhaps, but it's something. All right. Well, we're wrapping up here, just hitting the hour mark. So thank you for all of our viewers who have joined us. We really appreciate everyone chipping in. I did finally open the comment section a little bit late. I'm like, oh yeah, that's also my job. So I'm sort of multitasking, looking at questions, doing all my bits and bobs. But Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have your insights.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to my trip to the stadium that looks like a Tesco superstore on Saturday.
A refurbished Tesco superstore.
Yes, I will report back next time I'm on as to what my experience was like. But hopefully the sight lines are a bit better than the away end at Goodison.
Very good. We hope to hear more about it. And Mary, thanks so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on board.
Oh, it's good fun. Always good after a win as well, isn't it? But my last thing as well to say, Muniz on the weekend, when he was warming up as a sub and we started singing his name, God love him. He was joining in. He was smiling. He was buzzing. I thought, yes, this is the guy. Like, what a happy guy. So yeah, I feel like he needed a little shout out for that. It was so fun to see. He was just loving life. So good to have him back as well. And yeah, hopefully we go up to Everton, whatever little club they are, and just go and get the 3 points.
Second biggest club in Liverpool, some might say. But yeah, very good. And with that, Mary, if you can see us off.
Yeah, let's go. You whites.